What's going on, guys? Kenney Conwell here, and if you're watching this video right now, it's because you want to know how you can buy a vehicle in your business's name. Now, right out the gate, without me getting into all the details of this, there's three reasons why you want to do this, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner that's trying to defer taxes. Now, I won't go into all the weeds about the differences between bonus depreciation and I want to say it's Section 162 of the IRS tax code that allows you to bonus depreciation or do the write-off of the vehicle. But the number one reason why you would want to buy a car in your business's name, it's for the tax benefits. The second reason why you would buy a company car is this car, when it's in your business's name, will not show up on your personal credit report. So if you're looking to get approved for a mortgage, which you should be, this is not going to affect your DTI. Okay. And then the third most obvious reason why you want to buy a car in your business's name is because it builds up your business credit. Right. So those are three really powerful reasons why you want to go ahead and buy a company car or buy a car in your company's name. Just to kind of give you like the financial background behind it. So most people say, yeah, I got a car in my company's name, but they don't really know why they did it, right? I'm giving you three reasons why you want to do it, right? Because chances are you're going to pay taxes on profit. And what's the most effective way to defer taxes? Now, I'll spend a little bit of time here because if you're self-employed or an entrepreneur watching this video, and you're trying to buy a home, you've probably been told by your accountant or your CPA, and all accountants and all CPAs are not created equal, by the way. Chances are probably know more about tax planning and reduces taxes than your accountant, but I'm not judging or saying anything. I know a thing or two. But anyways, having said all of that, you want to make sure that if you make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 profit, that's what you're going to pay your tax on, right? So let's just keep it extremely simple. Let's just say you have $100,000 in profit. Well, if you have $100,000 in profit and you go out and you buy a $60,000 vehicle, now you technically don't even have to buy the vehicle, you can lease the vehicle. But if we're keeping this extremely simple, if you lease a $60,000 vehicle and depending upon which structure you do between bonus depreciation and Section 162, you can, in some scenarios, defer that entire purchase to lower your taxable income, right? Which is going to help you from a tax perspective, which just is a no-brainer. But also, if we go back to, okay, well, I'm trying to buy a home and I wanted to defer taxes. If I'm going to lower my taxable income, some banks look at something called add backs. Now, it depends on if it's business lending or it's personal lending, but depending upon the underwriter, if it's business lending, they may add back depreciation or bonus depreciation back to your profit number. So although you deferred your taxes by whatever you were able to defer your taxes to, you still can add that back to your profit and still be able to qualify for financing on the business side. Now, on the personal side, it's just all about how we avoid tax. Now, let's get to the whole nitty gritty of, and then not to mention it's not in your personal name, right? It's not going to affect your DTI. So what are the steps we need to take? Now that you kind of understand some of the concepts behind it, what are the steps? So number one, you want to make sure your credit report, your personal credit report, looks good. Because chances are, if you're starting out and your business does not have any business credit established, you're more than likely going to have to do what's called a PG. Now, PG stands for personal guarantee. I have several credit cards right here. This is one credit card that I have with US Bank. It's a $50,000 limit. Didn't need the money, got it. Why wouldn't I do that? But even though this card does not report on my personal credit, they still wanted me to leverage the credibility and the track record of my personal credit to personally guarantee on my credit report. But the utilization and all that stuff never will show up on my credit report. The same exact thing holds true when you're potentially getting approved for financing the vehicles in the business's name. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your business entity is already set up, whether it's an LLC, incorporation, make sure you have that documentation set up, right? Once you have your business set up, you want to make sure you have your business. So I'm going to assume, I'm not going to get into the weeds of how to structure your business. I'm going to assume that you already have your business structured and set up. Now, the other thing we have to make sure we have set up and do, we identify what particular dealership has vehicle finance options available. 9 times out of 10, when you go to a normal dealership, they're not going to know anything about business financing. They're going to be like, well, no, you can just do it this way. And they're just trying to make a sale. So right off the top of my head, I know Chevy has business financing where you can do it in the business's name only. Ford, Lincoln, Audi, Mercedes, BMW. These are all places that you can do business financing. Depending upon the Nissan dealership you go to, they may have a commercial side and you may be able to get commercial financing through Nissan, just to name a few. But it's so important that you get the fact that when you're going to do your application, you're doing the application so that way this line or lease, well, I can't even call it a line. Well, some of these do offer lines of credit. This line or lease or installment loan will show up in your business's name. Now, a couple of key things you want to have already set up. You want to have a Dun & Bradstreet set up. So this would assume that you have a Dun & Bradstreet paydex score, and you want your paydex score to be at least 80. Now, in order to start building paydex score, you want to have vendor lines of credit. Now, I won't go into the weeds of business credit, but what I will say is that you can have a combination of, like, for instance, I'll pull up this U.S. Bank card again. This U.S. Bank card is in my company's name, right? But U.S. Bank is not going to report this to my personal credit report, but they are going to report it to the business credit reports, right? So business credit reports would normally be Dun & Bradstreet number 1 and then Experian and IntelliScore number 2. Now, Equifax does have a business credit report as well, but they're not as widely used as Dun & Bradstreet and Experian, right? That's who they're going to report that information to. Now, if you don't have a copy of your business credit report or you want to know how to start building business credit, in the description, I'm going to put the link to a company called Nav. They'll help you pull your business credit reports and set that stuff up. But number 1, you want to have a Dun & Bradstreet profile set up, an Experian and IntelliScore set up, and you want your personal credit to be already at a good place. So in case, depending upon the loan you're trying to get approved for, if you need to PG it because your business doesn't have a track record, you can do that and you're already at a good place. All right. Now, when it comes to the business credit side, there's different tiers and vendors that you can have between tier 1 and tier 4 vendors. But in order to get that 80 paydex score or that 80, because 80, let me be clear, business credit reports are going to go from 0 to 100. So an 80 paydex score is the equivalent of like a 750 FICO score, like our normal credit score, which we all know 750 is like really good. And an 80 IntelliScore is the equivalent of having like a 750. So you have to already have those reports and all those trade lines reporting on your business in order to have those reports. So when you go and you do the application, they're going to ask you for your business's name, your EIN number, all that information. You provide it on the application, and you can ask them, hey, look, I know I just happen to know this. I'm gonna go off the top of my head. Like Ford in some scenarios will allow you to get finance 100% in the business's name up to a certain dollar amount. Chevy will too. However, if you want to get a loan, like for example, I have a buddy, they were approved for financing for a Chevy, but the Chevy was an SUV, but it was only like $32,000. But their business already had paydex, already had business credit, already had lines of credit, so they didn't have to personally guarantee anything. They just straight up said, okay, your business is sustainable enough. We'll allow you to get this vehicle in your company's name 100%. You can lease it 24 months. Here you go. Here's the keys. Peace. No down payment, no nothing, right? But that was a smaller amount versus me personally. I went to that same Chevy dealership, but the vehicle I wanted was a lease, and it was $60,000. And I had never proven that I had a $60,000 vehicle in my company's name ever. So they wanted me to personally guarantee the loan with my credit. So they ran my personal credit, but that vehicle doesn't show up on my personal credit at all. So it doesn't affect my DTI. They just want to make sure that I had already shown that I can have a good track record. And if worse comes to worse, and I choose not to pay that, it can come back to my personal credit report, right? So I'm only giving you that determination so you understand that the more vehicle you want in the business's name, you may end up having a PG. So when you have a combination of that 80 paydex score and like a 720, 740, 750 score, then you can get this car financed 100% in your business's name without it showing up on your personal credit at all. Because if it shows up on your personal credit, it's going to affect your debt to income ratio, and that's going to affect the amount of money that you're able to get if you're trying to do like a real estate transaction or do another type of loan, right? And another installment loan. But that's really it. I can go into more detail, but that's the process. You want to, number one, already have good personal credit. Number two, have your business already established, right? Have an actual address, have a phone number, have a website. It's a business, right? Don't do this just because it's a hustle. Hopefully your business is making money. If you're making profit, you would do this in your business's name because it makes more sense to have it in the business's name because you can write this off, defer taxes. Who wouldn't want to defer taxes, right? Then number three, what it's going to do is build your business credit. So as you're making these payments, you're going to be building up continuity with Chevy or Mercedes or whoever. And once they see that you successfully paid off that loan and you want to go out and get more business credit, they're like, yeah, well, he successfully paid off this loan. We'll give him another one, right? And you just keep doing the process over and over again. But it just makes no sense, in my opinion, as I'm wrapping this up, to buy a car in your personal name. Like, it doesn't. Like, if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, don't buy a car in your personal name. Just don't do it, because it's going to affect your DTI personally, unless you really care about affecting your DTI. We all know that a car typically is a liability, and depending upon how you're doing your real estate, that could be an asset. So if I got to use my personal credit, I'd rather use my personal credit to buy a real estate asset, whether it's a single family or multifamily property, versus buying some daggone car. You get what I'm saying? So hope that makes sense. Those are the process. I'll put the additional links in the description. The main one you want to do is go to nav.com, set up a profile with them, and you'll be able to get all of your business credit reports there, set that up, and it's going to give you your Experian, your TransUnion, your you can, if you don't already have a Dun & Bradstreet, it'll walk you through how to set up the Dun & Bradstreet. If you don't have an Experian business report, it'll walk you through how to do it. If you don't have a business FICO, it'll walk you through how to do it. If you don't have an Equifax, it'll walk you through how to do it. And I include that in the link, but hope this is helpful. If you want to learn more about how you can start fixing your credit or building business credit, but more so getting those negative items removed, I created a training, The Simple Strategy That's Overlooked by 95% of Entrepreneurs Fixing Your Credit. Click that link below in the description. I'm going to walk you through it and break it all down.